Most videos about backpacking safety start with fear, bear attacks, strangers in the woods, or what you should carry to defend yourself. And honestly, that kind of content scares people away from getting out on the trail. So today I want to talk about backpacking security a little differently. Not fear, not paranoia, not worst case scenarios, but how experienced backpackers actually stay safe by the way they think, the decisions they make, and the systems they use well before anything goes wrong. Because the truth is, the biggest security threats in the backcountry aren't strangers, aren't animals, and definitely aren't movie-style scenarios. They're poor decisions, bad awareness, and panic. By the end of this video, you're going to understand why most problems never become emergencies, how to hike and camp with confidence, and how to feel safe without being afraid of the outdoors. When people hear security, they think defense, weapons, or protection from others. But in backpacking, I want you to think of security as margin. Now you might say, Ricky, what does margin mean? Margin is having extra time, extra awareness, and extra decision-making space. Security isn't about fighting problems. It's about never needing to. And that starts with the single most important skill you can have. Situational awareness sounds tactical, but really, it's simple. It's just paying attention to what's normal, what's changing, and what feels off. Well, let me give you some examples. When you're out hiking and everything feels quiet, but when you pay attention, you still hear the birds being active and chirping. The sounds of the wind sound normal. Even your footsteps may feel steady. That's your baseline. Now imagine there's no bird noise. You hear voices echoing where you don't expect them. You come across a campsite that looks abandoned, but it seems recent. These don't necessarily mean danger, but what it does mean is that you should pause and pay attention. Most people get in trouble the most when out on the trail, when they just push forward, even though their instincts are telling them to slow down. Security isn't about fear. It's about listening and paying attention. A lot of times when we get out in the backcountry, we choose campsites based off of the beautiful views. Or this one has the most amazing flat ground because I know I want to get some really good sleep. Or it's really close to some stream so that you've got water access and maybe you want to be able to soak your feet in the creek. But experienced hikers, when choosing your campsite, also think about security. Here are some things that I avoid. I try not to camp directly on the trail because when you're out in the backcountry, it helps to be able to know when people are coming up on you. And if you're directly on the trail, whether you're inside your tent or maybe just sitting outside of it, it's really easy for all of a sudden somebody to just be walking up the trail and maybe not be malicious. But next thing you know, you get startled because they're right there and they're right next to you. I also try to avoid game trails. As you guys hear me talk a lot of times, and we'll talk more in this video, wildlife normally wants to avoid us. But when you pick a trail that's so worn that you can actually tell that it's a game trail, then you're most likely sitting right in the middle of their highway. And then you get surprised when all of a sudden in the middle of the night, you hear critters coming up around your tent. And of course, when they just walk up and see something that's normally not there, they may get curious and want to investigate. I also try to avoid narrow funnels like creek crossings, because naturally, if this is the one spot on that creek or that water flow where everybody is coming to cross, whether that's people or animals, it's gonna be a trafficked area again, just like being on the side of the trail. You're putting yourself right where everything's gonna move. And lastly, I really try to avoid obvious party areas. If you're out on the trail for multiple days, the likelihood that you're gonna come across multiple trailheads is probably pretty high. And a lot of times, you'll find that some of these areas are favorite weekend party spots. And a lot of times they're easy to tell. It may be trashier than normal, which is unfortunate, or you could see a high trafficked area. And so a lot of times when I'm going out, even if I know that I'm getting kind of tired and I come across one of these areas, of course, they're probably going to be prime areas for being able to set up tents. But it may not be some area that I really want to be, because you just don't know what's going to happen in some of those situations when it comes to people deciding to get a little wild and crazy out on the trail. And so for me, when I see those areas, a lot of times I'll just keep going and maybe go another mile or so down the trail before I decide to set up camp. Here are things that I typically look for site selection for myself. I like there to be just a little bit of elevation, because you don't really want to be in an area where, say, water, if it decides to rain or things like that, could puddle up in those perfectly bold, flat spots sometimes. So just having a little bit of elevation can be a good thing. I normally try to find an area just off of the trail. This allows me that ability to see movement off in the distance and to see if somebody's out in my areas. And so for me to be able to observe that somebody's out there before maybe they see me. I also like to find an area that has multiple exit directions. This way, if something happens, if maybe an animal or something does come up, or you realize that maybe you're in a well-known area that's going on there, that you have that ability to exit if you need to. You don't want to be stuck in an area where the only exit out is the way everything might be coming in. I also like to find those spots where maybe I can hear someone approaching. Not because I'm trying to be creepy, but it allows me to not be startled when somebody all of a sudden shows up. It gives me that ability to know that, hey, I'm not alone for a moment now. I need to pay attention and check to see what the situation is. For example, I would rather camp about 100 or 200 foot away from a stream so that I know I'm close enough that I can walk out and have access to it, but I'm not right on it. So I'm not necessarily in a high trafficked area where either animals or people are gonna naturally quickly come to congregate. So if I'm feeling like I wanna get out there and meet new people, then I can go and hang out in the area if I want. But if I don't feel that way, then I know that I can be pulled back enough and go and hang out at my camp and have a little bit of my own isolation. This isn't being paranoid. It's being intentional with the placement of my camp. Solo backpacking is safe, but it's normally smarter when you're out to not necessarily broadcast it in all situations. Some things I avoid when I'm out on the trail. Playing really loud music so that everybody knows where I'm at. Or maybe having bright lights in your camp so that everybody can see where you're located at. And a real big one is telling strangers details of your trip. Everybody doesn't need to know everything that you're doing and when you're doing it. Here's what I typically do when I'm out on the trail. I try to keep my camp compact. I want to stay confident, but also neutral when I'm talking to people. And it's okay to let people assume whatever they want. For example, if somebody asks you, how long are you out here? A simple, just a couple days will work just fine. You don't have to say, I'm alone, I'm off my planned trail and not expected home until Tuesday. Security is about information control, not secrecy. This doesn't mean that we can't get to know people out in the backcountry, but it means doing what you need to do so that you feel safe. Most people that you meet out on the trail are nice people, but if you're trying to be secure, this means being polite, be brief, and be non-revealing. If I don't know somebody, I typically avoid oversharing, complaining about some of the things that are not going right for me, or really just emotionally dumping a lot of my grief and challenges. Instead, I really just start off using things like friendly neutral. I try to keep my body language clear and give myself natural exits. It's all right to stop and chat with somebody for a few minutes and then say, all right, I should probably keep moving. Got to get back on the trail because I'm trying to get ahead of the weather. Or, hey, it was nice to meet you, but I got a few more miles I want to try to knock out before the day. You don't have to be exact, but you can still be polite. You don't owe anyone your life story. I'm the world's worst at this because I'm totally a people person and I love talking to people out on trail. And before I know it, I start asking all kinds of questions that I probably shouldn't be asking. And I can tell sometimes when people are starting to feel awkward about it. And it's those times where I try to just realize that the most important thing is that they feel safe out there, It's not about me getting to know a new friend. Animals are normally not security threats. Human behavior is. Most wildlife incidents come from food smells, poor storage, or having dirty camps. Here are some security systems that work. Keep a clean camp. Make sure that you've got proper food storage, and make sure that you leave some distance between where you sleep and where you eat and prepare your food. The animal typically doesn't want you. It wants your mistakes. Here's the uncomfortable truth. You are far more likely to be hurt by hypothermia, heat exhaustion, a fall, a wrong turn, or running out of daylight than you are by anything else. Security means watching the sky, respecting the wind, and understanding what it means, and knowing when it's time to turn around. The most dangerous decision is often, I'll just push a little further. Security isn't just about having fancy gear. It's about redundancy, battery management, and simplicity. Here's some things that I think matters the most. Letting somebody know what your plans are. Make sure you check in when you said you were going to, and then having a way to signal if you need to. Sometimes the most powerful tool is someone actually expecting when you're supposed to be home. This is where emotions run high. But here's my actual honest take on this. Gear doesn't replace judgment. Carrying something out in the backcountry for peace of mind is a personal choice, but the illusion of safety can sometimes be dangerous. Avoidance, awareness, and decision-making solve far more problems than reaction tools ever will. Security actually starts before anything actually escalates. Fear causes bad decisions, rushed movements, and tunnel vision. If you can stay calm, that creates options. When something feels off, stop, breathe, look around, and give yourself time. The backcountry rewards patience. Panic most times can be your real enemy. The outdoors isn't something to be afraid of. It's something to respect. Most backpackers who stay safe aren't tougher, aren't more armed, and they're definitely not fearless. But they are thoughtful. They move with intention. They listen. They don't rush. And that is real security. If any of this helped you feel more confident to get out on the trail, let me know in the comments below. Or if you have something that you do to stay safe when out in the backcountry, I'd love to know it. And if you're new to backpacking and still building confidence, you belong out here, just like the rest of us. Hopefully this was helpful. And hopefully I see you guys out on the trail. But don't start off telling me your life story, even if I ask.